Jimmy's back.
Welcome in, boys. Good to see your faces. Everyone watching at home, ladies and gentlemen. Celtics with a 126-107 win over the Washington Wizards. They are still undefeated. And I think I heard a stat tonight. First time since the 70s that they've had back-to-back seasons starting 3-0. So that was on the broadcast. So I guess that's a good thing. Those 70 teams were pretty damn good. And so far, it appears this Celtics team is pretty damn good, led by the two superstars, Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. It was Jaylen Brown, little blast from the past. Jaylen Brown getting things started in the first quarter, as he's known to do, but didn't fade away. What did he end up with tonight? 36 points tonight. 13 of 24 from the field, 8 of 13 from three. Just an all-around great game from him. And this is the same guy, guys, that we were wondering if he was going to have a role on this team, if he was going to fit in with this team.
Whoa. Okay, a role? I think we all know he's got a role in this
No, he
team.
had no role. He was completely iced out of the team, and people were wondering if he was even going to show up, but showed up in a big way tonight, reminded everybody what he's capable of doing specifically on that offensive end there. And Bobby, we'll start with you on just your thoughts after this one.
Oh, beatdown. This was over 5 minutes in. You make the first 5 shots there, 8 of 10, rolling, finding the paint. Pretty decisive with where you want to put the ball in this one. And you knew you had to go to the rim because the Wizards didn't have a center in this game. They start Bilal Coulibaly, who's, a wing-size player. Kuzma was effectively their 5. And you're off to the races with Porzingis posting up and dropping in shots around the rim, rolling early. They're finding him. Jaylen's attacking the basket. Tatum did a good job getting downhill. So they were relentless in this one. And they thought off the top, Jimmy, is, you finally win this game where you outshoot the other team from 3. First 2 games you're outshot pretty badly, 46% opponents against Boston coming into this one. In this one, you don't shoot great either. 35%. You got to cut out those bench stats because they're ugly, and we'll get to that later. But
yeah, I know. I think they shot pretty well, Bobby. I mean,
yeah,
minus that bench.
They shot well, and they held the opponent finally to a low shooting percentage. But I still get the feel that you're not overly reliant on the 3-point shot. You're 50% from the field as a team here. You've shot great from the field so far this season. You got Porzingis as a post presence. He only shoots 2 threes in this one. Derrick White, just takes 3 shots overall, and only 9 out of the 21 shots for Tatum, come from the 3-point line, so fewer than half his shots. So that's something I've been impressed with offensively, but also just the passing poise. 32 assists in this one, another good number for them. They turn over a little bit too much, but some people in my mentions made the good point that you'd rather see them getting the ball around and trying to work that out than some stagnancy with lower turnover numbers. So I'll let that slide for now. You took care of business against what's probably the worst team in the league here, and it was good to see.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you added that at the end, just so we don't, just so all our viewers know we're not. We're
Relax,
not
everybody.
Here. Yeah, we're not like just solely watching the Celtics. We're also seeing the team that was defending them. And man, those Wizards are a turnstile, man. Like everyone's just kind of like, and you know what? That's to the Celtics' credit. Obviously, they got out to a quick start. I love the way they established that inside-outside game, right? Off the top, you had Tatum and Brown, both, each of them taking this straight to the rack for 2. And then they, obviously established that inside presence. And then came the outside shots. You had the pick and pop between what was it? No, the give and go rather between Porzingis and White, and then that frees up Porzingis for a couple of shots there. You know what I mean? Like I just felt like this offense is just so explosive because they have those weapons and because everyone is so committed on defense. But let's not forget who this Washington Wizards team is, man. This was an ugly game in the sense of like the way that they were being defended, but it's still seeing the Celtics shoot damn near 60% going into halftime. They just dipped over. Or under rather 60% right before the half. I want to say Jaylen missed the layup there or something like that to put them under, but
yeah, a couple quick ones.
Just an impressive first half all around. I mean, again, establishing that inside-outside game. They had the weapons to do that. I mean, we knew that going in to the regular season, all 5 of these guys can shoot from deep, but they can still, obviously because of their size and because of their high IQ, I feel like you can get high percentage shots, and that's exactly what they did before opening up those clear 3-point attempt that the Wizards had no business, or at least they seemed like they were just like, oh, like we're already
What is
done.
wrong with Jordan Poole taking those shots so early in this game?
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, that doesn't help, right? It gets the Celtics off to the races, but they couldn't cover anyone, man. Like you saw the defensive switches, and like the Wizards just looked lost out there. But that's what if you're the Celtics, that's what you're supposed to do, man. You're supposed to embarrass a team like this, And I didn't, I didn't expect anything different, to be honest with you. I just didn't know that Jaylen would damn near go off a 30 like that in the first half. That was exciting to watch.
Are they tanking already? How do you start that lineup that they put out there tonight?
Man, the way Poole was pulling up, the way he does, look like that's tank behavior right there. Even though it's only a week into the regular season.
Mike Muscala,
Poole's gonna get his. That's messed up. That is tank behavior right there. If the Moose himself isn't getting minutes. Bobby, you reminded us earlier today that the last time the Celtics were in Washington, it was the infamous
no traffic tonight, I bet.
And it felt like maybe the Wizards took the wrong turn or two on their way to the arena, because they were a little
they look lost.
They were a little slow getting going to this one.
Too bad I'm not in Washington. I could have done the traffic report.
Exactly.
Now you would have been pissed if you were down there, bro. You would have been like, I came down here for this blowout.
We have to post this comment from Kyle. Zan is suspiciously missing.
Well, the good thing about John being out is we get the spooky fun again.
Yeah, I made sure I put the spooky fun back, but I think Jaylen was like 4 for 4 to start, and John was like, "Guys, I'm out tonight." Load management. So, not a surprise that John couldn't make it for this one.
Let's start with Jaylen.
But nonetheless,
he was awesome. Right?
Yeah, we have to.
You go from that first game where he's out of the mix, no shots in the fourth. We talked to him the next day, and it's like, yeah, I'll find my spot. Jayson talked him up pretty well after that one in terms of the stuff he did outside of scoring. And then it was a slow start in that Heat game, right? Some bad turnovers, misses around the rim, but he picked it up late and helped them win the game in a big way. And then in this one, they get him looks early. And this is what I love about especially Derrick White having more opportunity as a point guard, is the way he can spread the ball out and get it where it needs to go. You saw Tatum away from the ball for a lot of this one. I'm going to pull up the numbers at some point in terms of the ball time through 3 games, but it seems pretty even. Doesn't seem like anyone's dominating the ball for large stretches, but they noticed that Brown had it early in this game, and they kept finding him. So this is a major step for this team early in this season. Their poise and their just overall ability to get the ball where it needs to go. And I don't know what we're apologizing for, but
I put it up. Somebody said we need to apologize for Jaylen.
Can I pull the John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
I think they're most likely talking about maybe some of us criticized game 1 Jaylen performance, and I think there were a lot of questions. Listen, and this is one game, and it's great that
he wasn't good in the first game.
Brown, yeah. I know.
So we talked about it.
It's a
and
joke
now he's
that
playing
I put it up.
Tyus Jones and whoever.
Yes,
Facts. Right.
But in his defense, he played well. I mean, he hit some big shots, not big like
right, and that's why we led with him.
He was scoring from all over.
We're talking about him.
He was doing it from all over. It was against a team that either chose not to play defense or forgot how to play, or maybe a little bit of both. But this is the nice reminder that you get regarding Jaylen Brown. And this is the type of game that he's put up numerous times over his career. That is the reason why he got the contract that he did in the offseason. And it's one of the reasons why the Celtics are championship contenders. It's because on any given night, somebody in that lineup can go for 30 plus. Tatum, Brown, we saw Derrick White do it. We already know Kristaps Porzingis did it. So there's a lot of options. And you know what? We'll get into this a little bit later, but they're going to need a couple guys every night to go off for 30 each, because they're not going to be getting much offensive production from that bench. Again, I don't want to overreact to 1 game or 2 games here, but it just doesn't feel like there's going to be a lot of bench production offensively. Now, there's not going to be a lot of situations where it's just the bench guys in the game, unless you have a blowout situation in one direction or the other. So we'll kind of, leave we won't get too hung up on the total bench output tonight, but point being, a guy like Jaylen Brown getting hot early, credit to the rest of the team for getting him the ball in motion, in situations where he was feeling confident enough to score in that position. And they took advantage of him getting hot in the first quarter. Sometimes we've seen him get hot and then disappear the rest of the game. That wasn't the case tonight. I think he had 3 threes in the second quarter there, went into the halftime with a career high. Now, of course, that production is going to gonna lower a little bit in the second half when they didn't play anybody in the fourth quarter. So I mean, he could have ended up with realistically 50 points tonight if he played the whole game.
I'm interested
So
in the boost in the 3-point shot too, Brown.
Yeah,
With Brown here, and you saw him over the last couple of years take a dip in that area. I thought his shot looked great in the preseason. I'm trying to take a look at what he did from three in those first two games, but it was the poise with which he shot the 3-pointer in this one. 3 of 7 in the last game, 0 of 4 to open the season against the Knicks. So this is his best 3-point shooting game in a little while here, going back to last year even. So if that's there for him this year, it's going to make it all the more easy for him to fit in. And there's no apology there. There's no slander. It's the reality of his role on this team. Porzingis is going to be in a ton of the actions. Holiday's a ball handler, point guard. Derrick as well. I'm pulling up Derrick here. He's got 4 minutes a game coming into this one on the ball.
So what was different tonight? Why was Jaylen Brown's role or output so different than it was in game one? And we only have 3 games to look at here, so I know it's a small sample size.
Right, but it was a combination of things. One was the defense. He came up with a couple of stops. I think that gets him going. I think that was the case in game 2, right? At TD Garden against the Miami Heat. So there's that, and then also I just feel like the team starts feeding the hot hand after a while, right? He got points in a hurry. And I think the offense, did his best in trying to seek out Jaylen. I think when that happens, you see easier looks for him, right? Especially when you're playing a team like the Wizards, where they were sort of just like getting caught up in switches. All of a sudden, you had mismatches down low. What was it? Tatum had Tyrus Jones down low at one point, and you look for those same type of opportunities for Jaylen. I feel like Jaylen capitalized on them. Now, again, you have to remember you're not going to see this other team face a defense like the Wizards very often throughout the NBA, throughout this season, but that when Jaylen, finds a mismatch or finds a lane that he can take advantage of, he's going to do that. And I think the starters do a really good job of seeking him once he gets going. They do a good job of acknowledging that, okay, he's heating up a little bit, and you can credit a lot of that to Jrue Holiday or just their offense in general. I feel like it's just sort of when he's hot, you can see the team respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Imbalance on the defense. They're overcompensating on Porzingis, and Porzingis in this one, unsurprisingly, ends up with 3 assists. Had another nice skip pass for an assist from the post. He's doing a good job of drawing in extra defenders, whether it's up high and taking guys off the dribble and making plays from there, usually looking to shoot. But in this game, a little bit more passing from him, and that helps too. But overall, I think part of it is Jaylen getting up to the high post, Jimmy, and demanding the ball more often. Like sometimes you're looking at him and he's stashed in the corner, or he's out of the play, in past seasons here, and there's no real opportunity for him to get the ball. And I go back to that play on opening night. He sets a screen up top to help create the foul on Porzingis late in that game with Hartenstein in the corner. Throughout this game, just freeing himself by popping out and catching and shooting open threes. So he's active, he's involved, and I've talked to him a handful of times over the past, couple of days here, Jimmy, and he just seems locked in and bought in, I think is the better way to say it, to this role he has here on this team, which is going to be off ball most of the time, sometimes sacrificing shots, sometimes sacrificing opportunities, but knowing it can come back around in a game like this. So he responded well to that opening night game. There's no other way to say it. He did an incredible job shaking off a slow start against Miami and finishing strong, and then coming out here with one of the, frankly, better games of his career, cleaner game certainly here.
Yeah, I agree with
that.
that.
Look at that number. Look at what's your favorite number in that whole stat line if you look at it?
Yeah,
0 turnovers.
0 turnovers. Somebody tweeted at me, are we going to talk about Jaylen's turnovers when he doesn't make them or only when he does make them? So,
and you know what?
Obviously,
I said that so fast. I feel like I was in class trying to be the first one to say it. Yeah, beat Bobby too.
Respond to another criticism of Brown. The left-hand finishes late against Miami. Big ones, too. Going through multiple defenders and finishing in that left side for his final basket.
They forced him left. It's true.
But, it doesn't have to be everyone's, including, us, whatever. We're looking at the situation like it might be a negative for Jaylen Brown. Like he might not have as big of a role in this, that, and the other thing. But maybe his role is just to focus more on what he does best, which is to score. Him being off the ball is a great thing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, nobody wants to see Jaylen Brown dribbling the ball around the court. and having to go from right to left and trying to find his shot. Guys like Holiday, guys like White had 8 assists tonight. They know when to defer. They're veteran guys. They know when to find their guys. They know when to give it to the guy who's cooking. Tonight it was Brown to start, and Tatum ended up with 33 points. So I mean, you gave it to your two beasts tonight, and I think that's and Porzingis. You can call it a somewhat quiet night, but he did everything that was asked of him as well. He had a great block on Poole there when Poole thought he was, I think Poole thought he was in the middle of an All-Star game or something.
I don't know what he was doing.
Porzingis snapped him back to
Poole was the guy guarding
reality
most of the time.
Yeah, Poole, and I mean, I think Kuzma had his work cut out for him tonight as well, and the Celtics obviously came into this one as heavy favorites, as they should have been, and they showed everybody why they were.
Right.
This was not a game. If you turned around in the game 5 minutes in, you missed missed the whole competitive part of the game, because it jumped out about 5 minutes into this game. It was no longer a game. The Celtics were not missing in that first quarter, and things just continued to spiral for the Wizards from that point on. And would they go up 36 or something? They went 30 something.
41-19, I think, after one.
And the final score here does not dictate just how much of a blowout that was, and that's because, and I'll put this comment up so it doesn't disappear. Thank you very much to Colin. Not to crap on this parade, but this bench, good God, if 2 starter injuries occur, this ship is going to sink. We can't sustain 100-point starter games. I didn't want to get into the negative part of this one, but we might as well talk about it a little bit here. We can circle around to a few different things, but the bench tonight, and again, it's going to be very rare when you're going to see 5 bench guys in at the same time. Thank God.
Right.
This is not going to be something we see often, at least not unless they're blowout situations. But you got a good look at some guys tonight, Bobby and Josue, and I can't say anybody aside from maybe Svi, who hit a 3. I can't say anyone really shined. And Bobby, I'll let you start because you've been hyping certain guys on this bench here.
Yeah, it was a bad night for all of them, pretty much, except Lamar Stevens. Svi made a few plays late. Emmaus Cade is hurt now, which isn't great. So this would have been a good night to see him, and he ends up on the bench injured. So this isn't a great group of players. It's mostly minimum guys. It's mostly players who came up from the G League, in Luke Cornett's case, and Sam Hauser certainly too. So you have one good year on the books of Sam, and you wonder how much defenses start to play him a little differently. I thought he was good in the late stages of the preseason, but so far through the regular season has been rough. Not much to talk about in that Knicks game. He was terrible early in the Heat game, and they had to go in a different direction. And then in this one, I think he finishes, 3 for 10. So we talked about there in the preseason. He's that guy. There's a lot of backup wings here. There's a lot of opportunity to go around at that position, and he doesn't have such a stranglehold on the position that if someone else plays well, he's going to be able to hold on to it. Now, I think they're still going to trust these guys like him, Pritchard, who was 0 for 8 tonight, and even Cornette, who hasn't played.
There it is.
I mean, these are guys. These are guys you saw play well last year, so I do think he exercised some level of patience with them. But again, none of them have any kind of stranglehold over their positions that if they play bad for 5-10 games here, they're going to have a long leash on it. And fortunately, Jimmy, like you said, you have full health now, you have tighter lineups, but eventually you do want to see some of these other guys in here get opportunities in good spots. I mean, I don't really take anything those guys on the lower end of the bench did tonight for with any more than a grain of salt because of the competition.
You would have liked to have seen some. You would have liked to have seen some production. I mean, this is against a Wizards team that doesn't have much talent on their end either, and this would have been the perfect game to say, okay, maybe the Celtics have something here with this guy, or maybe there's something here that they could zone in on with that guy. But man, you go down the line, Bobby and Josue, please chime in here. Hauser 3 of 10, Pritchard 0 of 8. Cornette didn't take a shot, but let's just assume he would have missed it if he did. He was minus 11 in 11 minutes.
He did drop the
ideal.
pass.
Yep. Brissett minus 10, and he was 0 for 4. Banton 1 of 3, and he was a minus 17.
Yeah.
I mean, who there's going to be – it hasn't happened yet, but we're already seeing it around the league. Load management here, load management there. Teams are not shying away from it despite what the NBA is trying to do to stop it. Are the Celtics going to be able to sit guys once in a while, or are they going to have to worry about playing 5-on-4 basketball?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting because what was it? Drew said something about, are you worried about production or scoring pressure coming off the bench? And Scout was like, oh, on a team like this, you don't need scoring off the bench. You don't have to worry about that. I'm like, yeah, you need some scoring off the bench, though. All right, guys. I mean, you gotta find some consistency.
You need secondary somewhere,
right? You need some secondary scoring. You need that consistency because you're gonna have starters dipping into helping the second unit, and all of a sudden all those minutes add up. And everything. Look, you just want to be able to find some sort of trust from the second unit and guys not named Al Horford. And I think that's when the Hausers and the Pritchards come up. I mean, these are the two guys that obviously have more experience than most of the second unit guys that have been in this system and with the Celtics. And I'm with you, Bobby. In a game like this against the Washington Wizards, I want to see a little bit more from guys like Pritchard and Hauser. Look, Pritchard goes 0 for 8, 0 for 6 from behind the arc. Hauser goes 3 for 10, 2 for 9 from 3. Like, I just want to see if Hauser can find his offense inside the arc at any point throughout this season. Like, I understand that's a big part of his game, but he's got to find a way to get going off ball, right? He's got to find a way, whether it's backdoor cuts, whether it's off the dribble. I mean, he's got to find a way to find his offense if the three-point shot's not falling, because I'm with you, Bobby. That spot that he has in the rotation isn't a lock. There's other guys that could easily take that spot, and though they don't do the same things that he does, they're finding a reason, they're showing examples of why they're valuable. Whether it's the rebounding from Brissett, which we saw Friday night, or guys like Al Horford is going to give you those rebounding, playmaking, and then some. Right, even hit a couple threes and score for you as well. But if Horford doesn't have it, which we've seen a couple of times already this season, where are those points coming from out of the second unit? Okay, you get away with that in a game like this against the Wizards, but if you're going up against a better team, which is like the majority, pretty much almost every other team in the NBA, you might run into some issues. You're going to need some sort of production off that bench. It's only 3 games into the regular season, so there's still plenty of time to figure that out. But I got my eye on that for sure. Like, I'm trying to see how that thing irons itself out, because it's got to be other people that they can rely on outside of Al Horford coming off that bench.
Who's up and who's down in this bench? Who's going to end up part of this rotation? It's up for grabs to some extent. I mean, they're not going to stick Pritchard at the very end of the bench, but there are roles to be won here.
You need to find guys who complement the best players on the team, and that's why I've always looked at some of the guys further down the bench lineup, like a Lamar Stevens, who might not look good in a situation like this where you're subbing in 5 bench guys together and they're all just trying to fire up shots and show what they're made of. He can grab the rebounds. He can hit a shot off the ball. He's not a great shooter, but if he's wide open, he can knock one down, as he did tonight. I do like the idea of giving him more opportunity, especially if O'Shea Brissett struggles to shoot. Josue's right. You need some scoring here, but you don't need a ton. And obviously the starters aren't going to score 100 points a game, but they are going to be able to handle the brunt of the scoring load here, and that's how this team's going to play. So you need guys who do the little things, Jimmy, the rebounding, the defense certainly, and even some of the facilitating. Like, I still like the idea of Delano Banton as a guy who can pass and defend wings. The shot's not going to be there, but you don't need a ton of shots from him or a ton of minutes. This is what you decided to do, Jimmy. If people are pissed about the bench, they should go back and reverse the Holiday trade and get you 2 bench rotation players back. You're playing with a thin team full of minimum guys. So this is what you get. You can't have everything. It's the one thing John says that I agree with. You can't have everything on a roster.
One thing. Just one, John.
That's it.
So, they're going to be patient here, Jimmy. They're going to see what they have. Hopefully Joe works with the rotation a little bit, because a lot of these guys really haven't gotten a chance yet. And then close to the deadline, you see what opportunities become available. They're not going to make a big trade right now and send out a first-round pick because the bench played bad for 3 games.
Right. I understand that. It's just I think, I mean, listen. Overall, you got the win tonight. It was a pretty damn good
win. You won
win,
by 40, and people are bitching about the bench.
Well, that's what we do here, Bobby. That's what we do here. We're in Boston, all right? We find something negative to talk about, and we hammer it for half an hour.
Always something.
I don't think that's the focus. Listen, it's not the focus of tonight's win. I think we hit it off the top, but you can't ignore.
No, you can't. It was
the
bad.
fact that you got 6 guys, on your team basically right now. So that's something that I'm sure we'll talk about many times the rest of this season. But it wasn't all bad. I mean, listen, let's go back to the first half when this was still a game. The defense, Bobby, you love to say the defense. Well, how about that full court press
The
coming out of the
defense has been
second quarter
awesome.
there?
You know, you can get excited all you want about Porzingis putting up the shots and scoring in the post, and Tatum and Brown going for 30-30 in this one. But how about the defensive intensity? They're putting 2 on the ball sometimes. They're doing great digs. Porzingis is playing with so much flexibility in the drop. He's switching a little bit too. I still go back to that block he had on Hero last game. He's been awesome defensively. You're a little weak on the board sometimes on that end, but they are scrambling. They are trying hard. They are tapping the ball up, trying to get it out to someone else who's crashing. So overall, their disruptiveness on that end has been awesome. And I said it earlier, Jimmy, you turn the ball over a little bit right now, but you're forcing turnovers on the other end in turn. And I think you have forced more turnovers so far than you've committed, which is a big thing for this team that struggled so much to do that last year. And one of the biggest things Joe's talked about at practice when we've had our back and forths with him about the 3-point shooting is this year they're going to ramp up the emphasis on forcing turnovers, because that's how you get out in transition. That's how you balance out your shot totals. You don't need to shoot as many threes if you're forcing turnovers and getting those open layups in transition. So that's going to be part of the adjustment for the offense this year. He talks a lot about how both sides of the ball are connected, and I love how connected they are on that end so far. You have Holiday, who can guard a range of positions. You still have some of the switching on the perimeter, but Porzingis is the base of it. Has been awesome. And you're right, Jimmy. They're sprinkling in a press here or there. The zone has made
It's beautiful. It's chef's kiss.
Yeah, the zone has made some sparse appearances. So I don't think it's going to get super wacky like a Nick Nurse Raptors team here, but they're just going to have some different looks that they can go to. And if they think they can catch a team off guard on any given possession, they might toss out any one of those kind of different wrinkles they have this year. So I've been super impressed so far. And obviously, I hated their defensive intensity and execution last year.
Yeah, man. I just think Drew just changes so much on that end, man. And look, I know a lot of people out there who looked at the way this team defended last year and just thought that, man, it was just the effort thing, or it was just like, why couldn't they defend the way they did the year prior with Ime? But this is completely different because they have guys that I feel like it just wasn't the same. I mean, obviously Kristaps Porzingis is a big part of that, but I mean, what Drew Holiday does on the defensive end, I feel like it's just very contagious, and guys are all of a sudden, beating their defender to the spot. You see them suffocate the way they suffocated the Wizards in that first quarter. I just felt like it not only set the tone, but it really got the Wizards like almost second guessing themselves. And all of a sudden, what is it, like 10 turnovers in the first half? Like that's the kind of defense that I think will makes things so much easier for a guy like Jaylen, right? In the open court, whether it's in fast break opportunities or whether it's just getting him going in a sense of guarding the better player on the other end and coming up, with the big steals and the big plays.
I think Jaylen's been decent on that end so far too. I've liked his intensity. I've liked his ability to key in on one player and cut him out. Did a good job with that with Brunson on opening night. I think it was I forget who he was primarily guarding in that Heat game, but did a decent job there too. So he's locked in, and most of these guys look like they're scrambling, look like they're playing hard on that end, which is half of it, as we always talk about, Jimmy. It's just a greater attention to detail on that end. You still go back to camp with Tatum and Brown saying, got to get back to defense. We're going to try to be all defensive guys this year, and it follows suit down the roster. I think pretty much everybody who plays for this team is looking to those guys and the kind of tone they're setting, and it wavered last year at times. And I think that's why the team in turn wavered defensively, and now they're both setting a tone on that end.
And how much easier, I'm sure these guys know it, but the defense turning to offense, it's just so simple. You play good defense, you get out in transition, you score. Like these guys are running, they can be run and gun. They've got athletic guys on this team. They can run the floor. When they get stops, more often than not, good things happen on the offensive end right from that. And I think we saw that, obviously. We saw that tonight. And you get a couple of good looks in transition. You see a couple go down like Jaylen Brown did tonight. And then you get that confidence, you get that swagger, and you start taking those 3-pointers with a little bit more confidence. And then all of a sudden you're up 20 points in the first quarter. It happens fast. I want to remind everybody that today's show is brought to you by our good friends at Fanduel Sportsbook. And right now, you can get $150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 moneyline bet. You go to visit fanduel.com/Boston, guys, any moneyline bet. You could have bet the moneyline on the Celtics tonight, and you would have got the $150 in bonus bets. And that would have been the easiest moneyline bet of your life. And you can also do it for the football season. I probably wouldn't bet the Patriots money line right now. I'd probably stay far, far away from that. But who are they playing?
The Dolphins last week,
Yeah. Who are the Patriots playing this week or next week? Take the money line of their opponent. Again, guys, it's $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. You got to win. But again, there's an easy formula here. You just bet against the Pats, and you might be good. You're probably.
I don't know. They're playing. Who are they playing next week? The team. They're playing Washington.
The team.
Yeah. The team. They're playing the team. Yeah.
I knew exactly what you're talking about. He said that. The Commander.
Well, next week the team is our team. If you're looking to make $150 in bonus bets, so guys, it's never been a better time to join FanDuel. It's a lot of fun. A buddy of mine just joined it, and I've watched him slowly bet away all his bonus bucks. It's been very sad.
Sadly, but I'm sure you
had you'll have better luck. You'll have better luck than he will.
They're bonus bets for a reason.
Really easy to use. Exactly. It's good practice, right? So you can bet on the spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit fanduel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. 21 plus and present in Massachusetts. Hope is here. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. Who's popular? All right. Who's the popular guy over there? First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. So make sure you get those bonus bets in. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com, gambling helpline ma.org, or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. Okay, that is it for that. And it's the Commanders. It's not the football team anymore, Bobby. It's
I love the team. I wish they kept it. It was unique.
It was probably better than the Commanders. I mean, they're not having any better luck now.
What a basic name.
They're not. It doesn't matter what their name is. They stink. How about Tatum tonight? We didn't really talk much about him. Again, it feels like he's not. It's just like one of those stat lines where you almost come to expect now, right? A quiet 33, as we all talk about Jaylen Brown, right? Yeah.
Looked easy. The shot looks good. Is that wrist fully healed? We've talked a little bit about that.
Doesn't seem to be forcing it as much, right? We're not seeing him take bad shots.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised to see his ball time up a little bit. But he's playing off the ball more, I feel like. Yeah, getting to the corners. He hit a pair of corner threes at one point in the first half, back-to-back, playing off his teammates. I think White and Porzingis hit him on those respective plays. And playing there around the rim, that's a big one, right? The post-ups continue to be part of his arsenal. He's averaging 3.5 a game coming into this one, which was more the entire team did last year at each night. So we thought it was going to be Porzingis dominating the post for this team the way he played last year. Instead, it's been Tatum. Unfortunately, he's been able to just barrel through some decently sized defenders. You got Avdia, who's given him trouble in the past. You've given the Jaime Jaquez guy there, on the Heat, big issues in the post. Yep. So he's knocked out some defenders. RJ Barrett did guard him decently on opening night, but the 3-point shots there, which you love to see so far. He's got the post game. He's confidently dribbling into that mid-range shot. And I actually do like seeing him in the corner a little bit, Jimmy. So there's just a variety to his game that doesn't allow teams to load up on him, because I do think it can be fairly easy to take him out of the game by putting 2 on him sometimes and making him get off the ball, because then he's just kind of standing around. You're still going to use him as the primary ball handler, I think, more often than not, as much as John hates that. But if you have the flexibility to get him off the ball, as they do with White here, as they do with Brown in this game, and certainly with Porzingis being able to just dump it off to him for a quick shot. He's going to be much more efficient. You're going to see the assist numbers go up in time, I think. And you're going to limit his turnovers too, which is another thing that undermines him at times.
Absolutely, dude. Facts, my dog. Tatum's, he was a preseason MVP favorite for a reason, and he's going to figure out ways to change up his game and again, do what needs to be done to win games. But also, and I said this to, I think it was maybe John after game one, you don't want him to feel like he needs to defer too much or think about not taking the shot if he wants it, because you need to have that. You still need to have that killer instinct.
Right.
Yes, you have 6 starters, and you have on it. We talked about it off the top. On any given night, it could be any one of these guys, but you still want Tatum to be the alpha. You still need to have that mentality and to want to go into takeover mode when you need to. That doesn't mean be selfish or take ill-advised shots, but it just means have that mentality that it's still your team. You're still needing to be the leader on the court, at least, and take over when it needs to be done. Now, that was more, again, it was more of a first half, 3-quarter game. It wasn't like anyone needed to be the guy down the stretch here. But early on in the season, it does feel like Tatum is really comfortable with the guys he's playing with out there. It just feels like these guys are more on the same page early on in the season than they could have been. And that's better than what you can say for a lot of these teams. I mean, the Bulls had a team meeting after game one. I don't know if you saw that one. Players only. So, it's not too pretty around the league. So I think the Celtics are in a great position, and obviously Tatum's leading the way there. Talked about Brown. Derrick White with 8 assists tonight. I missed game 2, Bobby. But from what I hear, Derrick White went into beast mode.
Yeah, and you won a crunch time game effectively by extending your lead in that situation, and he hit the big shots to do that. The ball handling from him has been great. Start the preseason, Jimmy, very first game against the Sixers, he's bringing the ball up the first couple of possessions, and you're like, oh, all right, is that what we're going to see more from him this year? And that's basically the role he's filled in a lot of different situations in these games, including crunch time, leading them up in transition or into half-court situations. He has the poise to do that, and he makes good decisions. He rarely turns it over, and he also has good gravity if he needs to be the screen guy. The one thing you're always looking for from this team, and that they always do well, Joe talks about it constantly, is finding the mismatch. And a lot of time it's going to be the guards for Tatum and Brown. So whether Tatum's screening for White or White screening for Tatum, you're going to be able to create some mismatches in those screening opportunities here. And then, of course, with Porzingis, too. And then if you're getting out in transition, all the better. There's going to be a million mismatches. So that's what they're identifying. That's why they're killing teams right now. There's just mismatches everywhere. It's natural because of how many great talents they have on the floor here. And it's benefited Tatum often here because he's not settling against these guys. He's shooting a lot of threes still, but they're coming within the flow of the offense. And then when he needs to get inside and score on the block or pull up from mid-range, he's doing that too. So it's flexibility here. It really is. And, you mentioned the White game against Miami. This is what he's capable of. This is why I didn't want to see him go to the bench. This is why I didn't want to see him undermined here as part of this new dynamic next to Holiday. It almost feels like Holiday is doing a little bit less, so White can do a little bit more here because he's still getting familiar and all the rest. So as excited as everybody was about Holiday coming in, White's been the big story in that backcourt so far.
You still feel like White and Holiday are your starting lineup? Or I don't know if you ever felt that way, but are you okay with that? Or based on what you're seeing from the bench,
you got to roll with this.
You
got to roll with this while it keeps dominating. I mean, they come into tonight plus 19 per 100 with that starting group. So you can't knock the numbers. In fact, someone asked Joe down in Washington tonight if they were sticking with the starting lineup. And he's like, why would we change it? And it's a valid response to it. I mean, that group is just dominated right now. And Horford's got to figure out where his sweet spot is off the bench. He's coming in and playing the 4 a little bit, which has put him into some awkward positions. And he hasn't really performed at the level you saw for much of last year. I know you were very high on him coming into this year, Jimmy. It's going to be an adjustment for him. And I didn't love the idea of bringing him off the bench for that reason. But if you're going to get this from the starting 5, it's worth getting a little bit less from Horford and having him figure out that role here to make it work with that group. So as much as Joe talked about starting lineup by committee, it looks like they're going to roll these guys out here every game, doesn't it?
Yeah, no one was buying that, Bobby. I don't know.
I was.
Yeah, I guess you were.
I
just took it as, I'm telling you, after the game against the Heat, I took it as it was interchangeable, the lineup, the switches, you know what I mean? Because he just doesn't quite know what it's going to look like all season long. So I felt like, yeah, there will be nights where he might throw you a curveball with the starting five, but for the most part, I think this is it, right? I mean, I just don't think you find that continuity with your starting five if you're putting a different one out every single time. And I know the last five is what's most important, especially for Mazzulla, which he continues to remind us about, but setting that tone has played a big part. It did tonight. It certainly did, Friday night against the Heat. So, I mean, and let's face it, this is the most talented five. I like this lineup from the beginning, especially when you're combining, White and Drew Holiday in that backcourt. I just think it just sets that defensive tone that this team wants to have as a strong part of its identity. So it makes the most sense. But like we talked about from the beginning, I mean, guys, Al needs help, right? He can't be the only one that's giving you solid production off the bench. And I'm not expecting a full five to come off that bench and give you production every single night, but they need at least two or three guys that they can rely on, that Joe Mazzulla can rely on a nightly basis.
So that's the challenge, right? When we were talking about potentially starting Horford, you said, oh, geez, it's going to be Cornette off the bench if that happens. And so, in the other hand, it's Drew and Derrick starting. That means it's going to be Pritchard off the bench quite a bit. So he's not getting it done right now. I do think there's a case that there'd be more organization and flow with one of those point guards off the bench. It looks like more often than not, you're still going to Brown and Pritchard and Hauser and Horford off the bench. And you really don't have much creation between those four guys. Like Pritchard can get his own shot off, but he doesn't really create some of the imbalance or draw extra defenders like a Holiday can, like a White can, with the screening and all the other stuff they do. So if you do want to create some bench balance, as it seems like a lot of people in the chat do here, that's where you do start to think about Holiday coming off, Jimmy. Because Horford, bless him, he's awesome. He plays his role, but he's not going to be a guy who runs offense for the second unit. He's a finisher for that group. And if he's the only starting level guy you have with the second unit, Brown's obviously not the best creator in the world. Pritchard hasn't done a good job with it. You're going to have to look at one of those point guards to fill that job for them. So I don't know.
Yeah,
you're not changing it yet.
Yeah, it's going to happen a lot, especially in the first 2-3 weeks of the season. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but I don't think Pritchard's quite there yet as that secondary playmaker. He's going to have to work at that. And I don't, if there's one guy that's going to, give you his absolute best off that bench, and trying to figure that out and make that part of his game, it's Pritchard. So I'm not as concerned about that. But yeah, you
got to give it time.
You got to give it time, right? But you also have, you have White and Holiday that you can intertwine with those guys in that second unit. But I just hope this team doesn't turn into one of those teams where it's like, oh yeah, there's 6 heavy and like there's like there's like that other guy who comes in every now and then. But for the most part, it's 7 deep, because that was the issue that we had last season. And that year, and that team wasn't nearly as talented or not as talented as this team. So I don't understand, if we're still having this conversation in April, about the second unit. I'll be really surprised, because the Celtics should be able to figure out a way to have, that set 8-man rotation with, 3 solid, reliable guys that Joe Mazzulla, has built trust with by the end of the season.
Yeah, it's up to what you want. If you want to play tight, if you want to have that starting group that's also going to close, you stick with that. But if you do want to find some solutions for the second unit, obviously I think you're going to look to some different guys off that bench first. Maybe a Banton, maybe a Stevens, as a lot of people want to see here. And then it'd come down to shaking things up. So you're not going to do anything now at 3-0. You're not going to shake anything up. A bad fourth quarter by the bench in this 40-point game isn't going to make you shake things up. But it has lacked a little bit overall, the production in that second unit.
It's worth mentioning, for sure.
Yeah, I think, it's part of it too, and they switched it up a little bit tonight. You can't go to a bench unit without Tatum and Holiday. White's decent out there, staggered in, but when it's Brown and it's Horford as the primary creators for that second unit, they don't stand a chance a lot of the time. So you do have to fix your substitutions a little bit to make sure you still have some of the playmaking talent on the floor with the second unit, because I think Hauser would look better playing next to Tatum. I think Cornet even would look better playing next to a Tatum or a Holiday. So that's part of it too. You're going a little deep into that bench in some of those second units, and there's just not enough playmaking on the floor. I would compare it to a name that we watched a couple of years ago, and the bench was led by Brad Wanamaker, who, for all his hustles and intangibles, wasn't the best playmaker. That bench stalled quite a bit when he was out there. So
yeah.
So
I was more of a Shane Larkin guy myself, but
Larkin was sick. I have to admit, I was zoning out because I was transcribing a quote that I wanted to read, Bobby, but I'm looking at the comments and there's a lot of people telling you to stop. What did you say to get everybody so mad?
It's the Drew Holiday thing. It's the same thing since preseason.
Oh, did you say you wanted Holiday to come off the bench again?
No, it's just an idea if you want some lineup balance.
It's an idea.
No, I didn't say that. It's just an idea.
Yeah, it's an idea. It's a very bad idea, but it is an idea nonetheless.
I said it already, Jimmy. You're sticking with the starting lineup you have for now. It doesn't matter if the bench stats don't look good. You're killing teams right now. So what's working is working, and it doesn't really matter what Sam Hauser and Pritchard and Cornet are doing. So
right
you
now,
want everything to be
against
perfect.
the Wizards. Against the Wizards, it doesn't. It will matter at some point. They're not going to blow out teams.
And you know what's going to matter?
Through three quarters.
Wednesday. That Pacers bench is pretty deep and good.
There you go. And you're going to want to, if the starters are going to work their asses off to build those leads, they're going to need to take a little bit of a break, and they're not going to want to watch it dwindle within 5 minutes of them sitting on the bench. So there's got to have, even if it's, listen, if you're a bench player, your priority should be defense anyways, right? Just don't blow the lead. There's got, like you guys said, there's going to be situations where they're going to go to bench guys, but some of the stars are going to have to still be in that game.
Right.
They're going to still be expected to score. Exactly.
Like the Brissetts and the Stevens and those guys.
Right. Yeah. Do your job on the defensive end, get stops, and get the guys going out in transition and get them the ball. I want to read one quote from Jaylen Brown tonight. That was interesting because we've seen this happen to them in past seasons. He says, "It's tough being talented." Yeah, wow, really tough. It's tough being talented.
Damn, that sounds terrible, man. He really said that?
Yeah, let me finish. It's tough being talented because it invites laziness and complacency. That's going to be our enemy. Oh, sorry, my transcribing was horrible. That's going to be our enemy. It's going to be us versus us, our leaders on the team. That's what we have to emphasize from the top to the bottom, that we have to run through the finish line. So this is the right attitude to have. I mean, we've seen
they did that tonight, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they kept their foot on the gas, and they really just killed the Wizards. We've seen it in past seasons. They'll go up in a game. They'll get lazy. They'll start just taking plays off on the defensive end. They'll just shoot the ball on the offensive end, not run plays, not work for anything. If this is actually how they are thinking and what they believe, then it's going to be a successful year for them. If it's just talk, I guess we'll find out. But I actually love hearing Jaylen Brown say that, because that needs to be their mentality, because they are going to find themselves ahead more often than not this year. That's what good teams do. They get out to leads. Holding the lead is a different story, and we're not going to go back and relive some of those awful in-game meltdowns that we saw and lack of execution down the stretch that we saw that led to some pretty bad losses. But I think this year the mental makeup has to be stronger, and it looks like it is, at least to start. Again, bringing in a guy like Holiday, I know Bobby wants to banish him to the bench and never see him play again, but bringing in a guy like Holiday, a guy who's won a championship, who has played with, Giannis and some of these other great players, comes in with a different mindset. I think a little bit, I think I think he might be smarter with the ball. And I think I trust him a little bit more than I did some of these other guys that were handling the ball in previous years. I just think that he's going to be able to set the tone a little bit on the offensive end. And defensively, that speaks for himself. I mean, the guy is just all over the place. I don't even know who he's supposed to be defending sometimes, because he's just defending the guy. He's just always in the right spot at the right time, And so I think that's something that they miss. And again, that's helping guys like Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum do what it is that they do best, when a guy like Holiday is there kind of doing the dirty work. Same with White too.
Right. And obviously, the championship is they got a lot of respect for that. But also, you got to remember, like these guys were watching him play in his early years, right? Or even when he was 2, 3, 4 years into the league. That I think that's significant as well. I mean, he's a guy who played against the Pierce and Garnett led Celtics, right? I mean, he's been in the league for quite a bit. What was the quote that Tatum said when he called him old because he played against Tracy McGrady? Like I love that stuff, man. Obviously, it's all in fun, but it's also that respect, right? Like this guy's been around, he's a champion. He's not that far removed from that championship, and he had a lot to do with that championship, right? I don't think
for sure
get that done. Obviously Giannis is the main guy, but he was just as important in what he did defensively, and of course what he does on the offensive end of the floor. So look, the Celtics right now are in a great spot. Obviously, what Jaylen said is true. I mean, this is a good problem to have, right? This whole Drew starting, not starting. This team have enough on the second unit. I mean, look, the top 6. That's why they call them that, right? I don't think there's another team in the NBA that has a better top 6. But if you can strengthen that second unit and create again that type of 8-man rotation that Mazzulla can rely on, that's a big thing. That's a big advantage to have for a Celtics team that's kind of watching, minutes between guys like Porzingis and Al Horford. I mean, Tatum and Brown. I'm not one of those guys that's like, man, you got to watch those guys' minutes, make sure that, they're at the right age.
You're going to have to do that eventually.
They can take on the extra minute. Right. They're at that age where they can, they're in the prime of their career, that peak. You want to see them sort of rev up, mid-season all the way through. I have no problem with that. But it's the other guys. It's that front court. It's the bigs, right? One of those guys go down, you could have a big problem. And obviously that's between Porzingis and Al Horford. I mean, that's my worry, And if you have guys off the bench that you can rely on, then you don't have to bleed into those minutes, right? And you don't
right now
worry about it down the stretch. Yeah, right now you don't. That's true.
You wish you had Grant, certainly. Like that would have helped.
Well,
parse down some of the. That would have helped parse down some of the big men minutes and. Right now, it is just Porzingis and Horford.
But if O'Shea blossoms into Grant, then that's right. That fills that void. I think that's what we're looking for. Guys like Brissett or Pritchard.
Had a tough night.
Yeah, right. Tonight's not a great example, but I mean, he's shown that, especially against a team like the Miami Heat. Like it's early. It's really, really early in the season, but it's something that's worth discussing because you're wondering who's going to be those guys.
All right, Bobby, you mentioned the Pacers earlier. Our
By
good
the
friend
way,
Aaron Nesmith.
Nesmith's back.
You can't what?
You can't play Porzingis 38 minutes a night like they were doing on opening night either. So
no.
Nice to have a game like this where you can sit them down, and it was the foul trouble the other night, but we'll see how they manage that.
10 points in the first quarter, right?
This is my kind of
23 minutes. Perfect.
Load management this is my type of load management is a 30-point lead, and then you rest your starters. That's how load management used to be back in the old days, guys. Not with these kids now.
That's how dynasties used to do it, right, Jimmy? Like the dynasty, those Lakers.
You earned your load management by dominating it, in that game. But Bobby, you mentioned what is going on here? Did I do that?
Yeah, I think you did. You just
I didn't. Oh, now it's back. Bobby mentioned the Pacers.
They switched up.
Our guy Ahmed put the lower third up for you. Pacers are they in town Wednesday?
Yep.
Okay, it's a home game. Good friend Aaron Nesmith, fresh off a new deal. What did he get? 3 years, $30 million or something? 3 years, 33 or something like that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
26 points. This is his last game. 26 points, 10 of 16 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 9 rebounds. Probably ran around like a madman for the entire game, tripped over himself and bumped into a bunch of people. But the production is there now. This is what the Celtics never really, I think, gave him an opportunity to do here in Boston, and that's why he ended up in Indiana. But what are you seeing? What are you guys seeing from our old friend Aaron? And are you happy for him?
No, you're definitely happy for him.
Yeah,
he's jacked. He's put on a lot of weight. He's got a great frame on him now, and that's allowed him to play the 4, which I think it's probably a little bit easier to defend some slower guys at that spot. And,
just when the Celtics need a 4, huh?
And shoot 3s.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys at that 4 position aren't going to be out on you as much. They're going to be helping on the interior more, a little bit, the boards, all that. So I think that frees them up a little bit out there. They have a great playmaker, obviously, at the point of attack, and Tyrese Halliburton, who's setting up everybody out there. Now, still some inconsistency. I think he had 5 points tonight, I want to say. So right back down to earth. He's coming off the bench for them. There's a lot of guys in front of him competing for his spot. So he's got to stay on top of his production to keep playing here in Indiana. They got Obi Toppin. They got Jarris Walker out of the draft to play the 4 position. So it's not as wide open of a spot as it was from last year when he was pretty much playing every minute of every game at the 4 for them because they had nobody else.
Right.
Now there's a lot more competition at that spot. They really aren't in a place where they're going to just live with the ups and downs because I think they're actually trying to win this year. And you got a ton of talent on this team. You're just going to be blown away on Wednesday by Buddy Hield coming into the game and just Bruce Brown, who had 24 points in the opener for them this year. So they have offense everywhere. They scored 143 points against this Wizards team that you only managed 126 against here. So they're off to a great offensive start. And they're going to be tough to defend for the Celtics, right? Because it's just shooters and ball handlers everywhere. Porzingis is going to be spread out a little bit by them. So I'm interested to see how he responds.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I just feel like Aaron is just the beneficiary of just, being in a great system and obviously the effort and the hustle. I mean, you have to put yourself in that position to do this. And I felt like when we were hearing all the rave reviews from Indiana last season, we knew he was sort of on that path. It's just consistency, right? I guess that's what we're looking for, especially, Pacers fans, I should say, which has been not an ongoing issue for them because I feel like they know he's still young. He's still trying to find his way. But if he can piece together a much more consistent season compared to last, man, he's going to certainly make the most out of that contract already. This is obviously an encouraging start, but you wonder what he's going to look like at TD Garden in front of this crowd, man. I'm interested to see if I'm a betting man, I'm going to guess he's going to have a better night than Gallinari did tonight. So I'm looking forward to it.
No Gallinari mentioned tonight. Odds weren't great at that.
No. I guess you have to wait for the next time is the next X on his calendar for the Celtics.
Amit says he's got 5 points tonight. So
2 blocks, though.
2 blocks. You talk about consistency. I mean, that was something that he didn't give the Celtics, but the Celtics didn't give him. And that's the knock on, I think, if you want to knock the Celtics over the last handful of years, they haven't developed anybody. They gave up on Nesmith. They gave up on Romeo. They got rid of Rob. Rob, I think, probably maybe was his own worst enemy here. But they re-signed Pritchard here. We'll see what happens there. But a guy like Nesmith is exactly what you're looking for to give you that bench production right now. Now, we all loved the trade when it happened, right? Or at least I think a lot of us did. You got a guy.
Everyone did.
You got Brogdon in, an established player in the league, and he ended up being 6th man of the year. Came up, the Celtics came up short in the end, but it wasn't like that trade, backfired on you. But now you've got a guy in Nesmith who seems like he just the Pacers have a pretty good bargain with the deal they signed, assuming that he can continue on this trajectory.
This is how it goes. Some guys are good for some teams, and they're not good for others.
But the Celtics need to give him an opportunity to be good, which he never got when he was playing. Yeah. They never played, and when he did play, it was sparingly.
Time for that,
DNP.
All right, he needed to either pop
12 minutes off the bench. Then he DNP 2 games. Right.
Yeah, they didn't have time for that.
Consistent minutes.
Right. I mean, Indiana has a lot more time because they were trying to get back or get to the finals at that point, right? I just think that they didn't have.
Great teams can still develop players. It happens all the time. Otherwise, you end up in a situation where you're in now, where you have no freaking bench because you didn't develop guys.
You really like where you're at now,
right?
You do, but you do obviously, but
I just feel like you have
a different way.
I just feel like the Celtics had players that they were like, okay, we're going to invest more in a Grant than an Aaron because they saw way more potential. I just feel like Aaron was still very raw. When he left the Celtics, it wasn't like he had made a significant stride. I mean, outside of a couple of standout performances, there was nothing like this, right? Nothing that we're seeing now with Indiana. So yeah, I mean, look, the Celtics were sort of in that competitive championship window, so to speak, right? Trying to get to the finals, and yeah, right. They had a whole lot of patience with him. So I just felt like it was a bad timing thing for him.
Yeah, it was timing.
Yeah. I think in retrospect,
he's doing his thing.
You look at that 2021 year that went off the rails, and that was probably the time to do it. His rookie year, Langford's second year. or third, I think, actually. So that was a time where you probably could have dumped more minutes in their direction, especially when it was the Tices of the world and Ojale's and whoever else eating
Oh
up
yeah,
those
Ojale
minutes
was
back
getting more
then.
playing time.
I mean, even Grant didn't even play much that year, and he probably could have used some run ahead of what was his breakout year in 2022. So, when John gets upset about that, I think that's the year you look at. 2022, you bring in White, you bring in some other guys, and he gets put on the back burner. And certainly Langford, I think at this point, probably just wasn't worth
He was just
investing
not
in.
good.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to see Nesmith working out here, but you're going to see it. Like, you look at a guy like J.D. Davison way down this roster. I think he's a talented guy who just will never have the opportunity here. And maybe he develops behind the scenes and then goes somewhere else and does great. And you're going to be like, what the hell? They didn't keep J.D. Davison. It just happens that way. Like,
Yeah.
you get the benefit of other teams developing guys earlier in their career and then them getting opportunity with you. I mean, you see it with Lamar Stevens now. Like, he might get his chance here after coming up through Cleveland system, and guys just bounce around based on opportunities and contracts or whatever it might be. So you were never going to give Nesmith $33 million. Certainly, you're probably going to take him to restricted free agency, and he would have just been stashed on this bench in some way, and you wouldn't have gotten Brogdon out of it, and then Brogdon became Holiday, obviously. So I don't think there's much regret here. It's good to see him performing well. I think he was a memorable guy. I think we'll always look at him and say, like, oh, he had those flashes in Boston. But he just couldn't put it all together here, right? And sometimes when you're on a great team early in your career, you have to figure out how to make the most of 8 to 10 minutes. And he tried, right? He ran around like crazy on the board.
Yeah, he just tried a little too hard, I think.
But he just, the shot wasn't there. And you do need time and consistency for your shot.
You do. Let's transition back to Celtics a little bit more related. Bobby, you wanted to talk or mention this at least. In-season tournament court. NBA announced that every team is going to have a special court for these in-season tournament games. And here is the design for Boston's court. Thoughts? I kind of like it.
I think
you love it?
Yeah.
Too much green. What's with all the color on these courts? And people have probably seen all the other ones, just loaded with color.
Yeah, that's true. The other ones are crazy too. But you don't like this one? I like it. I think it's something different, with the green.
It's different. You're going to have to see it in person, right? I think it's going to be hard to judge off this, but I don't know. Like, the one thing I like about the Celtics court is it's mostly the parquet, and then it's that little flash of green. Like, you need more of like a neutral color. It should be the opposite, right? It should be that tone in the middle for most of it, and then it should be the maybe green dash along the middle. I do love the trophy, though. That's awesome.
The trophy's sweet. They got the 6
trophy
there.
And the 2,
I think, Bobby, like, your idea is not horrible, but what I'm thinking is that just wouldn't look different enough. If you look down the line of all the courts have just like a wild color scheme to them. It's gonna look strange on TV.
Oh, it's gonna look really strange. That's true.
So I saw the Bulls one in the stadium. They had a picture of theirs in the stadium, and theirs is obviously all red. It does kind of catch your eye. Like, I think especially if the fans are all wearing green and it's a mostly green court, it's going to be an overwhelming visual, I think, which will be pretty cool. But
now that you mention it, it is kind of buck green, huh?
It is buck green.
I mean, again, we got to see what it looks like in person.
Yeah, that's not even like the green.
And here's a question that you guys brought up: is it going to be parquet?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. A lot of people wondering on.
It better be. No other floor should enter the Garden. As far as
no one said anything about it. I mean, maybe they're just assuming, but
this needs to be parquet design.
Someone explain to Nick that this is temporary.
Or no deal.
He's losing his you-know-what right now.
What do I do here?
He goes, wait, is this forever?
Is this
yes.
Nick's going to have a conniption. Yeah, they're getting rid of Lucky, Nick. Lucky's gone.
This is a lot for 2 games, right? Wait, go back.
This is like if you woke up out of...
Go back to what?
The design? Court.
I was trying to figure out a way to show the court and also show us.
You traveled into the future. This is like what it would look like, I guess.
I didn't really even notice the new logo at center court, too.
So what is that?
Just Boston, right?
Yeah, it's just Boston, I guess.
Lucky's not gonna like that.
Yeah, they could have put like a shamrock or like a Lucky.
It's not a
like,
great look, no, that logo, but
somebody like from
even Red's signature should be in white. Why is it?
you know what's the problem?
I just
too?
found,
You know
like,
what?
some things I don't
I'm
like
out
about
on this
this
court
one.
now. I'm out of this
Yeah.
court
Now you guys got
I'm
me
done
convinced
with it.
now.
They
I
just
found,
had some sales guy like design this out in Florida. Like, this guy know anything about Boston? Like, where's
I'm
the
giving it a
character?
chance.
Where's the history? Where's the character around this court, man? NBA.
So I
They're always
think
trying to do something.
the thinking is, Jimmy, they want it to be an overwhelming visual to show that it's a backdrop now, that it's the in-season tournament.
Nice.
Like,
because
they need
otherwise no
something-
one's gonna be able to tell. No one's
Yeah,
gonna
because
even
it's just going to be a normal game. So next Friday, this is going to be the court against the Nets. It's going to be one of the group play games for the in-season tournament, and they better win so I can go to Las Vegas.
Ooh, that's what's on the line, huh?
Yep.
Las Vegas Bobby. Love that.
That's the prize. But otherwise, it's just money for the players. I mean, the thing is, Jimmy, I see a lot of people complaining.
You got to bring
about this
Amit with
tournament.
you, though.
I see a lot of people
Amit's
complaining
not ready
about
for
the
Vegas.
tournament.
What's that?
A lot of people complain about the tournament, but what's the downside here? It's just baked into the season. Maybe you don't like the court for 2 games. Well, there's 80 other ones. So, like, it's just an attempt to make a couple regular season nights feel a little bit more buzzworthy. So
here's
I'm
the
all
thing.
for it. It can only grow over time. Obviously, everyone's as low as you can get on it right now. But I think it's going to be kind of fun. I don't love the jerseys, though. The jerseys suck. I don't know what.
I don't really. The thing to me is, like, I don't think there's really enough at stake for me to be interested, or for like a lot of fans to be
What's on
interested.
stake in any other regular season game?
Well, that's the thing. But then it's just another regular season game. I'm not going to get super hyped up for it. So that just because the winning team, each player gets $1 million. Is that it?
Half
$500,000. It's like, okay, great. I'm like, good for them. But like,
Right.
what does it mean? It doesn't increase the playoff chance. It doesn't.
I think you need.
If it was like an automatic playoff bid, which would be ridiculous, but I'm saying if it was something like outrageous,
I agree with that. But you can't.
I feel like if you're gonna go outrageous, I feel like
But,
it should be
like,
like a first round pick. It should be a future first.
Like, congrats to the team that everyone gets $500,000 more than they already make. Like, I don't think a lot of like casual NBA fans aren't going to really get fired up for that. It's, to me, yeah, at the end of the day, it's still a regular season game. So at baseline, it matters just as much as the other ones. But I just don't know if there's enough added onto it to really get people fired up for it. They're trying to make it interesting. They got the courts, the jerseys. Maybe there'll be something else that they try to throw out there to keep people interested. But I don't think like the overall like prize isn't really enough to get people fired up.
So I think there's 3 ways that it can end up meaning something. Obviously, number 1 would be your idea, which you'd have to do down the line. I do like the idea of an automatic berth, even if it's just a play-in berth for a team that wins it. Give those
play-in berth, that'd be cool.
Give those stinky teams something to play for here early in the season.
But what do you do if you're a team that's already going to make the playoffs? Why the F do you care about a play-in berth?
No, it won't mean a ton. But if you're a team like Boston, who's going to play the Bulls, Nets, Raptors, and Magic here, you should beat all 4 of those teams. You should be in Vegas. And then if you make the championship, you get an extra game against maybe a West team. Like, one of my things I hate about the regular season is you only play West teams twice a year.
Yeah.
So let's say it's Nuggets Celtics in the championship for this. Could be a little bit of a finals preview. At least it's an extra game between 2 of the best teams in the league, even Celtics Lakers. So listen, you're going to have to like the product, I think, anyway, to get into this. And there's not really going to be a major boost in enthusiasm, but it's a wrinkle in the season. You got this court, you got the jerseys, you got a tournament in Vegas in the middle of the year for the teams that make it through. And every Friday, you're going to have a game that theoretically means a little bit more. So, again, I don't see any downside here. What's going to be the worst case scenario for this? That it's just the same as what we already have?
Yeah, I guess that's it. I mean, there's no like, downside in the sense of it drastically changed.
Well, they're trying to make it more interesting, but I just don't know if they succeeded in making it.
What if they make it like the tiniest bit more interesting?
This is it. I think this is it.
They did. They did. If that was the goal, then they may have succeeded.
And we'll
They
never
made it,
know
like,
how interesting it is until we see everything, unfold. We see the championship and okay, and then we can judge it. But yeah, from the outside,
You're gonna need more
I
stakes
guess
in the future, Jimmy.
you know what it does? It probably eliminates, like, there's not going to be load management on those games, right? Because now there's extra money on the line for the players and their teammates, right? So if they can play, they will play. So maybe you eliminate some of those load management games that you might have otherwise had. So I guess that maybe that's a good way to go about it, but I don't think that was the point of it. That could just be a secondary benefit of having it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Well, we'll see next
not gonna
Friday.
spend a bunch of
Get
time
your
trashing
first
it.
game.
But next Friday. Anything else
Tournament
from this
game.
game, fellas?
No, I'm excited for Wednesday. This should be a good game. Another good test for them against a different kind of team than what they've seen so far here. This game was just as easy as it gets, and credit to them for storming to the lead and then maintaining it throughout. But this is going to be the worst team in the NBA in Washington, it looks like, which stinks because I love DC, and CLNS is never going to send me again, Jimmy.
No, we ain't going there.
Yeah, you're not going to be going there for a little bit.
No.
You got some friends there. They could put you up for a night though, Bobby. We'll get you a press pass.
Next time,
we'll do that.
Next time around, yeah.
We'll get you a press. I'll hop in the train. Amtrak's expensive though.
Isn't it interesting though?
Cheap.
This is the impact of the lottery. If the ball bounced a different way and they get Wembanyama, the whole basketball world's eyes are on Washington. And instead,
you're in Washington tonight.
Know, right?
Yeah.
Instead, they get Bilal Koulibaly, who is his teammate out there in France, and
he looks solid. That guy Bilal tonight. He had a couple nice.
Yeah,
nice
I don't want to
there.
throw the name around lightly, but it does remind you a little bit of like a Giannis type guy early in his career. He's just skinny and raw and running around trying to do whatever. But no, it's just a flyer on a guy who's a great athlete out there from France, and he's a good defender. Not much offense to his game. They've had a bad run of picks there in Washington. It's different front office now, so hopefully it goes better than some of their recent ones have. But they don't have much. Clearly, they're starting to rock bottom now. And how bad is it that they're tanking this year instead of last year when Wembanyama was on the line?
I know. That's really tough.
They're beating the Celtics late in the season.
What do you guys think of Wembanyama so far?
He looks good, man. He's fun to watch.
Looks good. He's a rookie. I think some people were expecting him to like dominate right off the bat, but he's appointment television. I mean, I watched him at the free throw line. I think it was yesterday. I was like, this guy looks unreal. Yeah, like, and what I mean by unreal, I mean like he doesn't look real.
Yeah, he's just a fascinating guy to watch play basketball. Like his plays, his blocks, his three. I can't get enough of those blocking those 3-point shots and the way he goes about it. It's insane. I think I put one of them up on my story, man, because it's so good.
The defense is always going to be a sure thing, just because of his reach and his length and ability to cover ground. Fouling, obviously, an issue.
It's still eye-opening, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, obviously fouling a tough thing for him early. There's going to be parts of his game that he has to adjust to. His 3-point shot doesn't look great yet. So I think, that's going to be what takes him to the next level. People keep talking about him being the best player in the league within 5 years. I think he's going to have to shoot the 3 to do that. But he's already one of the best defenders in the league on day one here. And it's a great starting point for that team. I just wish they put more around him. There's really not a ton of talent around him out there.
Not yet.
So.
They're not going to sell out in his rookie year.
Yeah, but you'd like to have a good point guard. There was a little talk of Chris Paul ending up there, which I thought would be cool. And instead, it's Trey Jones is a good player, but nothing that's going to push them close to the playoffs. And man, I bet the NBA was dreaming of him in the playoffs year one. It's probably not going to happen.
Celtics actually play them on New Year's Eve in San Antonio this year.
Yeah, he doesn't come to Boston.
New Year's Eve action.
He doesn't come
to
Boston.
They do their college trip and then they go to Texas.
Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't
January.
Come for a while.
Yeah, January 17th, a little Wednesday night game. That'll get you in. That'll get you in the doors on a Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, selling tickets.
But until then, Bobby's fired up for this Wednesday. I'm fired up for this Tuesday, a little trick or treating. You guys have a You got a favorite? You got a favorite trick or treat candy?
Ooh, trick or treat.
Or a
candy.
least favorite? Favorite or least favorite? Like, what were you getting where you were just trash? Like,
So it's
just
changed a lot
toss
for
that
me over
immediately.
time. Right now,
Yeah, I want to hear
Loving-
Bobby's.
loving.
Should be good.
Yeah,
Well, my all-time favorite's Kit Kat. I've always loved Kit Kat.
okay.
Got
That's
the
kind of
nice
normal.
chocolate layer on top of the wafer, and just
Can't go
good.
wrong
You
with
can't
a
go
Kit
wrong
Kat.
with it.
Those are all over
I
the.
thought you were gonna
candy-
say like sprees
candy
or something like way
What?
left field.
Never even heard of that.
You ever heard of Spree?
Yeah.
Chewy Spree, hard Spree.
The chewy ones, no.
Not off the top of
Maybe
my head.
before his time.
All right, now
But
I'm gonna
yeah,
start
I've
naming
always
off.
loved Kit Kat. I've been eating a ton of Twix the last couple of days here out of the bowl. The bowl's already set up, so you just kind of picking away at it.
Oh,
And then Reese's within the last couple of years come a long way for me. But when I was growing up, it was probably M&M's, Skittles, and
you're a candy guy here, Josue. This guy has just named every like big candy, I think. On
no,
the
these are
list.
the ones I don't
It's
like
the big
as much
five right there.
anymore.
You just named them.
Those are the ones you don't like anymore?
Skittles and M&M's not as much anymore. No.
Skittles make me. I think Skittles make me sick. I think maybe because I used to eat too much of them,
Too
and
much.
it's just a bunch
Too
of.
much.
I feel like Skittles was the
poison.
one that I got the most out of the bag. You know,
A lot of Red 40.
you know when you take
I
all the
think.
candy out, like that was the one that you always got like the most was Skittles. But my personal favorite was always Snickers. I'm a Snickers guy.
Snickers is like
I
the
like
most
Snickers.
like satisfying one. You just get so much out of the bar. So that's a good
I
one.
know. I'm surprised you didn't name it. I was waiting for it. I was like, he's gonna say. You didn't say.
Snickers are like borderline like an energy bar. Like if you're on a hike, you could just toss the Snickers in your bag, and that might.
Well, we
get
thought
you to
me and
that finish
Josue were
line.
still trying to figure it out, but there was a Snickers just sitting on the Celtics bench in like the trainer area. We're like, what?
There you go.
Oh yeah.
A lot of traders will say that.
For real?
I think a lot of. Well, I don't know if I don't quote me on that, but I think a lot of like people who do outdoorsy stuff, dietitians, maybe might say like if you have to have a piece of candy, like Snickers might give you that little boost more than like
Really?
some other trash.
Bobby
don't do like don't bring Starburst with you. Like if you're gonna pick one or the other, like go
Starburst
with
are
like a
good.
Snickers.
You don't
Bobby,
get
what
those.
did you get?
Starburst are good.
Didn't you guess like it was like a diabetic thing or something if someone needs sugar?
The
Maybe.
2-pack Starburst were a really popular Halloween candy. You get the little one and there's 2 pieces in there. That was popular. I'm with Bobby on the Reese's. Can't really go wrong there. Man, what about like just horrible candy? I think you know what sucks? Laffy Taffy.
Yeah.
Nope.
You guys ever get Laffy Taffy? Like the mini
Yeah,
Laffy Taffy.
some of the flavors aren't bad, but like you get the banana joint, that's the worst one.
Yeah, that's trash. But they get stuck to the wrapper, and then like, what is it? It's like you're eating like flavored rubber. It almost feels like.
Yeah.
Amit just said banana is fire. All right, he might need to be suspended for that.
That's one of the worst candies.
That's one of the worst
Yeah.
candies you could ever
Easily.
get is banana Laffy Taffy.
I like fucked up.
I'm trying to remember
Yeah,
what
he
the
like
flavors
messed up
are.
candy.
Oh, Smarties. Those are interesting. Not the best. Those-
Smarties are there's like a
That
weird
chalk taste to it.
chalky
I
taste.
forgot
to it.
about them. Yeah, you
I
don't
think I grew out of it as an adult. But you know what's not bad? Nerds. I've always been a Nerds guy.
I like nerds.
Yeah.
I like nerds.
Especially the dual pack with the grape and the pink. You get the little fun
Those are
size
fun.
one.
I think nerds got like kind of replaced by like Sour Patch Kids because I don't know.
Here's the
It's just a different
controversial
sour.
one: candy corn.
I like candy corn.
There's nothing There's nothing controversial about that.
No,
Candy
Jimmy,
corn is
people-
People hate it.
trash.
Wait, you're trash? You think it's trash? What?
Yeah, I'm not
It's-
crazy about
It
it.
is, dude. You know what? Candy corn is the only candy that's worse than the vegetable. I will eat.
He's like, give me
I
the
will
corn.
I will eat canned corn. Give me a can of corn. I will eat that right out of the can before I eat candy corn.
It's not my
I don't know how they
favorite,
screwed it
but
up.
it's not trash. It's a little waxy.
I will eat.
A little waxy.
I will go ham on like corn on the cob. And if
Wait,
you show me
so-
candy corn, straight in
So,
the trash.
Jimmy, what's your favorite?
My
know.
favorite, my favorite,
The
my
candy
favorite
critic
Halloween
over
candy?
here.
You know what? It's probably Reese's or Airheads. I can just go ham on.
Ooh.
I could go after
Airheads go
Airheads. Like,
hard. Yeah.
but I'll get sick. I like anything like
Yeah.
that. If I have too much of them, I'm like, I'm
Right.
sick.
If you don't stop,
Anything that's
you
like
don't stop
anything
until
that's
you
like
eat, like, 6 of
artificially
them.
like colored and like
Yeah.
fake, I'm gonna
Airheads
get
where
sick.
the movie go too. You get a bunch of those at the dollar store and then head into the movie.
What else did I get? You know what's a super underrated candy? 100 grand.
That is an underrated one.
If I get 100 grand in my candy bag, yeah, I'm
You
not
know what
trading
candy
that.
I
I'm
love, but
keeping
you
that.
never get in Halloween? Gummy bears. What's up with that?
Love gummy bears. Yeah, you're right.
They're not slinging those on Halloween.
Not a Halloween
What's
candy.
up with that?
How about Crunch?
Not a Halloween candy.
Crunch is underrated.
Crunch bar. Crunch is like Crunch is like poor man's Hershey's. I feel like.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
I like bunch of Crunch, but I don't know, something about the Crunch chocolate doesn't.
You know
the chocolate's
you know
like
what
worse.
I feel? You know how I feel about that? Butterfinger. I think it's obnoxious candy.
I don't like Butterfinger.
Yeah.
It's like
It gets
sticks
stuck
to your teeth too.
Yeah, and it's just a mess. Nothing.
Definitely like if you have fillings, they're coming up. Like they're definitely coming up. It's just a fact.
It's so true.
I'm going.
Sour Patch Kids are good.
Even as a
Kit Kat.
kid, I was like, "This is torture. I don't want to eat this anymore."
Yeah. What'd you say, Bobby?
I'm going Kit Kat. You're going Reese's. Josue, what was yours?
Yeah,
Nick
that's
is-
not. Yeah, these aren't hot takes. These are like the most popular
I
candies.
know.
They got to be. But
I mean,
whatever.
let's-
Candy corn's trash. Necco wafers trash.
Oh, Necco. If you're
Who
from
are these
Massachusetts,
people
you got
giving this stuff
Neccos.
out?
You got Neccos all the time.
Yeah, people who aren't from
I
Reno
never
maybe
used
don't
to
know what
get
that is,
those.
but that's
Oh,
trash.
You're lucky.
Some people just like.
I think they phased
You
them
really
out by
get-
the time Bobby was, like 10.
You really get a sense of somebody by like what type of candy they gave out. When I was a kid, we had an unbelievable neighborhood with kids everywhere. My parents would give out the big, like the big version
bars.
of candy.
Oh man,
Because my uncle owns a vending machine company, so we would go to his spot, grab like everything, and then bring it. It was the best haul you could imagine.
just
But,
take
but everyone loved going to our
all
house.
the
'cause
supply,
we-
huh? That's cool.
Yeah, we took it all. I mean, his family
Try to
can't
find
really
some
get
odd-
mad, you know.
Trying to find some
But-
low key choices here, but I think we hit them all.
But you know what though? If you're giving out like one mini candy, you gotta up.
Oh
that
no,
to,
you
like,
gotta do it.
minimum
You gotta do
two.
at least a handful.
You gotta like get like it's for the kids,
Yeah.
man. It's like the one day a year where they can just go.
But let me ask
go
you
crazy
this.
on candy.
Someone said Dots sends you straight to the dentist. Yeah, Dots is a tough one too.
Let me ask you.
Dots. You're eating paper. You can't eat dots without
And then
eating
they get all
paper.
stuck in your teeth too. Yeah.
Who designed that? Like it's unbelievable.
Let me ask-
We're eating paper.
Let me ask you
For
guys
so
this:
long.
Are you guys big Halloween guys? Are you dressing up? Are you going out?
I dressed up.
Who are you?
I dressed up on Saturday. I was a skeleton. I did my own face paint. Let me see if I can pull this up. I did my own face paint, so give me a break.
Jimmy's gonna go through like a bunch of them and find the best one.
Josue,
There
are
you go.
you?
There it is.
Oh, that's pretty
okay.
I
good.
did that in the mirror.
That's
myself.
not bad.
Before I put the mouth on, I looked like the zombie from that clip where he goes like, "I like turtles.
You kind
You
of
know
look
that
like
I like turtles."
you look like one of the killers in that movie. What was it called? The Others or something? You look
That's
like
not bad, right?
you're about to
That's what
ruin
that
someone's
might
day. You're
Yeah.
scary.
I had a good
Josue,
time.
you
though.
dress up?
It's been a while, man. But I used to.
I like to get in this. I like to get in the spirit. Tomorrow in Charlestown, it's like, actually, I shouldn't say this because I don't want anyone to really know this, but it's the best place for like, they close off Monument Square. It's like a big square in the middle of town, and like all the kids and like really adults can just. It's just like it's a scene. You know, you can dress up. You know, obviously, if you have kids, you take them trick or treating, but the parents are all kind of having a good time too. There's music and everything like that. So Charlestown's big on
Well,
Halloween.
you know where I live,
so
Jimmy?
It's a fun time.
Oh yeah.
Salem.
What about it?
Salem really like
You moved to Salem? I don't think I knew that.
No, but I'm right. I'm like down the street. So.
Okay, yeah. No,
we get-
I know
I
that.
don't think I knew that.
So you just lied.
We
You
got-
just lied to me. You don't live in Salem.
No, but we get all the traffic. We get all the impact. It's a madhouse this week up here.
I imagine on Saturday a couple days ago when it was like the nicest day of the year. I imagine you couldn't even get into Salem.
Oh yeah, it was traffic down the street. I was just trying to go to the gym and I got caught up in it.
Oh, a little workout flex. Love that.
You ever done the
But-
Salem thing? I've never done it.
No,
Bobby, you
try
should
to-
be the Hulk. You should be the Hulk for Halloween, dude. You're looking big.
Should I? That's a good try. You know, every year I'm like, who should I be? Who should I? And then all of a sudden I see all these ideas and I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that? But yeah, I'll
There
be
you
the
go.
Hulk. Can you do the face
Done.
paint?
Absolutely. But come on over, dude. I got every color you can think of. You've seen my work.
Come on over.
You've seen my work.
All right.
All right. I think we've wasted enough people's time. But
That's a classic blowout win kind of show right there.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, we needed to get that in. Happy Halloween to
Happy Halloween.
everybody who celebrates. And then we have Day of the Dead later this week, festive holiday there too. So again, Celtics with a 126-107 win over the Wizards. We want to thank our sponsor, Fanduel, for being such a great sponsor. And put this up real quick so everyone could read if it shows up. And it's not, so that's cool. But anyways, you can.
Someone's
Here it
going
is.
happy in the chat, Jimmy.
It was there.
Get up to $150 in bonus bets at fanduel.com/Boston with any $5 money line bet. You got to win the bet. Okay. So again, go to our strategy, do our strategy, tail the Patriots opponents, and you guys might have luck there. But again, that's $150 in bonus bets at fanduel.com/Boston with any $5 money line bet. Guys, I can't get out of this screen. Something's going on. And I can't get out of this screen. Here it is.
Oh, you're gone.
That's it for us. Again, Celtics 126-107 on the Wizards. We will see you guys on Wednesday for Bobby and Josue. And for John and Sherrod, who couldn't make it tonight. Hopefully we'll see them Wednesday. We will see you guys then.
See you guys.